I had a car crash in August 2022. I was driving along the Kwinana freeway, going 100 kilometres an hour, and finally I said to myself, hit the concrete bollard. And I hit the concrete bollard. And then I got cleaned up by a truck going 100 flicks an hour. Double hit, double whammy. My life flashed before my eyes, and that was my wake-up call.
Brooke McIntosh,
5-boy worker turned mental health advocate, ran because staying still nearly cost her life. From deep mental health struggles to 1,600 kilometres from Kalgoorlie to Perth in WA. But she didn't stop there. That birthed an even bigger vision to run 14,000 kilometres around Australia in just 200 days.
One night I was laying awake in my donga. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I decided to do something drastically. And I said to myself, I'm going to train for a marathon and I'm going to raise funds for mental health. And I was like, a marathon, that doesn't excite me at all. And then it clicked. I'm going to run all the way around Australia and carry just one more all the way around Australia in hopes to have just one more conversation, because there are so many people suffering in silence.
Take us back to one of the toughest days. What got you through? What was happening in that moment?
This is a perfect time to tell you the biggest lie that I was carrying for the first 3 months of the run. I was out there running around Australia to raise awareness of mental health, but I had to keep quiet about someone and something so close to my heart. Like, that is why I do what I do. For those in that stage to realise, if you take just one more step, just one more breath, just one more day, you can overcome and achieve anything. And just one more conversation changed my life, and now it gets to impact the nation.
Every step I'm taking.
How exciting to have you in the studio finally. Brooke McIntosh, welcome to the Resource Podcast.
It is so cool to be here, and especially be the first one on your new space as well. It is so lush. It is so cool.
It's funny how fitting it is. I feel like we were talking about this before, where it feels like I've met you. It's like we've crossed paths many a times, or like been at the same thing or different things, but not kind of actually met each other. But I feel like I know you. Yeah. And social media says, you know, I've watched your journey, the parts that you've shared and the parts that have been recent, but there's so much more behind Brooke, and that's why I'm really excited to have you here today, for you to be able to share not even all of it. Like, let's be real, it's going to be an hour. You're going to have so much more to share. So thank you for making time.
Yeah, it's I can't wait to share more, because one thing that I never want someone to do is to go onto my Instagram and see all the shiny objects and to see the bigger feats. Yeah, cool, I've just ran around Australia, and see that like life's perfect, because it's absolutely not. Like, what I had to do to get to where I'm at right now is hard work, grit, resilience, determination. And the number one thing I had to do is to be courageous. And I can't wait to share more of that journey with you today and the audience today.
And I feel like as well you're spot on with when it comes to seeing people on social media, and especially what you've done. Like, that's fucking amazing. I think a lot of the time people assume that you are this person who's been, you know, courageous forever, and you've done all these amazing things since the day dot. Maybe that you've had a life where you've been able to do that, and or it comes with privilege, or where in actual fact, I know the story behind you is it's the opposite. You know, it comes from this desire. That's the first question I would love to ask you. Like, I want to get to know you, and I want to get to know Brooke before Just One More. And so I want to get to know the Brooke behind Just One More. That's such a huge thing to do. Where do you think that desire comes from? Like, you don't have to run around Australia. You don't have to help the amount of people that you help, have the conversations that you do. Where do you feel like that desire comes from to be such like an impact and a change in the world?
It comes from my own pain. Yeah. And I have travelled the depths of suicidal ideation. I have been on the edge. I should have lost my life in that car accident. But the fact that I didn't, and the fact of the thoughts that I had when that car accident happened, it's no coincidence that I'm here today to tell the story. And the fact that I've travelled the depths of the darkness and that fine line, I never want people who are standing on that fine line to take the next step. And that's why I chose to first initially run 1,600 kilometres in 2023. And then once I finished that run, I realised it's not just mining and construction workers suffering, it's all of Australia. So when I crossed that finish line, then that's when I made the promise to myself. That was like a warm-up. And that is when I made the promise to myself to continue just one more all the way around Australia, because I believe just one more conversation has the power to change your life, like it did mine.
So all of that kind of struggle that you'd gone through, I know that it's not anything that you kind of anticipate in life. And as we were speaking about, you know, it's not, I think the world that we live in, it's not often something that you share or talk about, and it's certainly not usually something that you're able to create passion and purpose and help other people from. A lot of the time it's something that's kept internal. So what was it that I suppose made you, in those times of challenge, choose to do something about it? Because you do get two choices. You can either, you know, be consumed by your pain, be consumed by your challenges and let it overwhelm you and take you, or you make the choice to go down the other path. Do you know or do you remember what it was that made you go that way?
Yes, 100%. So like the run, why I chose to do the run was, number one, to help people feel seen in their struggles, to make noise around mental health, because I truly believe if you've got a brain, if you've got a heart, you have mental health. Like, I'm sorry, you cannot argue with that.
I agree.
We wash our body daily to wash our physical appearance and all of the junk and gargan. Like if we've got dirt on our arm, we wash it off. If you've got dirt in your mind, if you've got negative thoughts running through your mind, what do? Nothing. You shut it down. And by shutting it down, it accumulates. And I'd been doing that for 26 years of my life. I'd been lying to the outside world, posting the most perfect life on social media, telling every single person I'm fine. No, I wasn't fine. I was fucked up. I was fucked up internally. And it got to the point that I was struggling so deeply and so badly with eating disorders, anorexia, anxiety, depression. And when I had a car crash in August 2022, that's when I literally got hit by a truck, and that was my wake-up call for me to start putting myself first. But it actually held up a mirror in my life to all the poor choices I was choosing. And after that car accident, I had one or two ways. I could keep going back to the life that I hated, but on social media it looked so great. I was addicted to drugs. I loved the alcohol. I lived for the weekends. I had nothing to I had a house. I had debt, $200,000 in over my head on debt. I was struggling massively. I had no real connections in my life. I didn't have a connection to myself. And I'd built this wall up, this mask up, because I thought I had to please everyone else. I thought I had to give back to everyone else continuously. And when that car accident happened, it made me take a real hard look at myself. And it made me realize that I didn't want to die. I just wanted my internal pain and suffering to end. So the steps that I took after that was starting to have a look in the mirror at my own self, getting real and admitting the truth that I wasn't okay. And it was by definitely surrounding myself with a better community. But it started by having just one more conversation. And after my car accident, I went back to site 2 weeks afterwards. And it just so happened that it was Mental Health Awareness Month. And I was standing in a toolbox meeting, and the good old safety rep, he starts preaching on about check in on your mates. Are you okay? It was, are you okay day? Don't like that day. Anyway, and site had just, as they do, make a massive big hoo-ha about it because it's Are You Okay Day.
Cupcakes, yep.
Cupcakes, paint the town yellow. No one gives a shit about the yellow. And especially not on one day of the year where you want to preach on about it. So this safety rep, no offense to him, but he was just preaching on about it. And I was sitting there, and I was sitting in so much silence. My anger was boiling inside of me. I was trembling, and I was like, Brooke, now is your chance to be vulnerable and courageous enough to speak what it is you're experiencing right now and what you have been dealing with for the last 26 years of your life. So in that moment, I don't know why, but I counted back from 3. It's like 3, 2, 1, speak. That's what I said to myself. And then I came out and I told a room full of 50 plus guys in the toolbox safety meeting that was around mental health. Guys, if you're going to check on your mates, first make sure you are okay. We need to pull down these masks and actually be courageous enough to share our own struggles. We need to be vulnerable. And I shared with the guys, look, I've been hiding for the last, my whole life. I experience anxiety on the regular, depression, I hate my life, I turn to the drugs and the alcohol. I'm experiencing XYZ. And on my R&R just recently, I was driving along the Kwinana freeway, going 100 kilometers an hour, and finally I said to myself, hit the concrete bollard, it's all done. And I hit the concrete bollard, going 100 clicks an hour, and then I got cleaned up by a truck going 100 clicks an hour. It was a double hit, double whammy, and I said to the guys, my life flashed before my eyes. And in that moment, I jumped out of the car. I regained consciousness after 3 minutes. When I regained consciousness, I jumped out of the car. I ran over to the truck driver. I said, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Yes, he was fine. He looks at me and he says, are you okay? And then I was like, yeah, fine. I ran over to the other car that was involved and I said, are you okay? Are you okay? They were fine. Everyone was physically fine. I picked up my phone. I ran over to my car. I scrummaged to the car. I picked up my phone. I called the school that I was actually meant to go do a talk at. And I said, hey, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to let you down, but I'm going to be 10 minutes late. I'm still coming, but I'm just stuck in a traffic jam. And then I hanged up the phone and then I stood back and I looked up. There's helicopters flying around. There's an ambulance there waiting for me. There's cop cars everywhere. The whole freeway has been shut down. And I just sat on the side of the road and I was like, the fuck? I've been putting everyone else's needs before my own. I've been asking, are you okay, to everyone else? How often do I look in the mirror and ask if I'm okay? And I wasn't. And that in that moment, I decided to do something for me, which was to call back the school and say, hey, I'm actually not okay. I'm not going to be there today. Can we postpone? Yeah, sure, no worries. Told them I was in an accident. And they were like, oh my God, are you okay? They wanted to help me. So by sharing this in the toolbox meeting, I said to the guys, I was like, I was moments away from dying. I wanted to die. But then I got a second chance. I'm here. And I hope by me sharing my story of my struggles helps someone else feel seen and less alone in their challenges and in their darkness and in their struggles. Because life comes in ebbs and flows. We're going to have our down days. We're going to have our high days. And by me opening up and being courageous enough to open up in a toolbox meeting like that, afterwards, I had 20 guys come up to me and say thank you because it clicked for them. We preach on about, are you okay? Check in on your mates. But the first person we should ever check in first is ourselves. And then we can check in on others when we are okay. And that's what the safety rep failed to say. So I jumped in and I shared my story. And I had 20 guys come up to me afterwards and say, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm experiencing the financial stress. I'm going through a divorce. I barely see my kids. I started my company because my mate died by suicide. Thank you. And it showed me that you just got to be more courageous to share your story. So that really rippled me into a massive healing journey of my own, seeking different therapists. Breath work changed my life. Grounding daily definitely changed my life. Running changed my life. And that night after that, I had just had something burning inside me. And I used to always go to the gym when I was on site. My routine would be wake up at 3 a.m, go to the gym for an hour, come back, get my food, go to work, rinse and repeat. I was never at the pub. I was just in the gym or at work. But that night I decided to go for a walk around camp. And it was so beautiful just being out in nature. And then I went for one lap around the site. I ran around the site. And I was like, holy moly, is this what it's going to do to my mental clarity? Because I felt so good. And I don't know what happened inside of me, but it just helped me make sense of the world. When I first was courageous to have a conversation and then mix that with being in nature and running outdoors, both of them. And probably about 4 or 5 weeks later, I was back on site again. And I remember just waking up in my donga. And while I was on site, I was still having these conversations. So that broke the ice for so many guys, where then each day I made it my mission to hold a conversation with someone. I would check in myself first in the mirror, and then I made it my mission to actually genuinely hold space and check in with a guy or anyone in my work crew.
Mm-hmm.
And then one night I was laying awake in my donga. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, this is incredible. Like, I'm seeing the slow ripple effect. The guys are actually enjoying having deeper conversations and actually opening up more because I'm opening up. And then I was like, if I'm hearing so many people on this site alone are struggling, how many other FIFO workers are struggling? And then I started looking into the statistics, and mining and construction, the trades work, is number one. They suffer the most. And then I'm not sure why I took it on as my responsibility, but I decided to do something drastically. And I said to myself, I'm going to train for a marathon and I'm going to raise funds for mental health. And I was like, a marathon, that doesn't excite me at all. That just doesn't excite me to even get out of bed for. And then it clicked and I was like, I'm going to run from Pilbara to Perth. Marketing-wise sounded great because Pilbara is the home of so many FIFO workers, and it was a home, and it still is a huge part of my life as well. My dad grew up there. I grew up there on school holidays, and I worked there for many, many years. So I decided to run Pilbara to Perth because Perth is now my home, and it is also the home base of so many FIFO workers as well. I decided to do that to make some noise. I had never, ever ran over 5 kilometres in my life.
Really?
The furthest I ran on that day that I made that decision was around the bloody campsite. But that decision to make my goal so big, and one of my incredible mentors, he calls out a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. And to make my goal so big that it excited me so much to be able to do it, that's what made me jump out of bed every single morning. I was like, shit, is this even possible? But I don't know. I'm going to follow the plan. I'm going to train every single day, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. Because making noise and destigmatizing something that has been built up over so many years, that is so natural to so many people. We've all got mental health. I wanted to make so much noise about that, to show the ones who are struggling in the darkness and in the depths of the darkness that it's okay not to be okay. But not just to preach on about it. I wanted to show that I'm willing to get down and freaking dirty all the way on the coastline of Western Australia and have these uncomfortable, courageous conversations. Because yes, it's not weak to speak, but it's actually courageous as fuck to speak what's going on inside our mind. It is courageous as fuck to put down your mask, to look at yourself in the mirror and admit the truth. And when we admit the truth, that is where the true change happens. So these conversations that I was having all the way down the coastline of Western Australia, I trained for this for 9 months. And then in August 2023, I ran all the way down. In December 2022, I decided to quit FIFO and go all in on this mission because I couldn't do the same. I couldn't do both at the same time. I was training for about 5, 6, 7 hours a day and then trying to work 12-hour shifts and sleeping for 3 hours. It just was not sustainable. So in December 2022, I decided to go all in on myself, all in on my dreams. August 2022 comes around. I ran 1,600 kilometres in 27 days. The conversations that I had down the Western Australia coastline were just incredible, and it was just getting me started. But it made me realise it's not just mining and construction industry that's suffering. It's our truckies out on the road all day. It's the farmers. It's the holiday makers. It's the young girl who's 12 years old battling with eating disorders. That, it broke me. So when I crossed the finish line, I knew that that was just a warm-up to prove to myself I could do something bigger, and I wanted to do something bigger. We went out for dinner that night with my family, and my brother said to me around the dinner table, none of my family believed in me, but they all had the they all had no right to believe in me as well. And I don't blame them for not believing in me. My brother put it perfectly. He said to me, "You've wanted to do stuff in your life, but you've never followed through." And I realized in that moment, I didn't follow through because it wasn't my own authentic dream. It was that mask I was putting on to try please others, to try be cool, to try be seen. But the moment I dropped it all, I got rid of myself and I literally ran for something that was my dream to achieve. I did whatever it took. So when I crossed the finish line and I realized that, again, I said to myself, I'm going to run across Australia. It didn't excite me. People have done it before. What's across? Because I knew if I went across, I was still going to want to go Northern Territory, go Queensland, and make noise up there. So that's when I was like, go big or go home, baby. I'm going to run all the way around Australia and carry just one more all the way around Australia in hopes to have just one more conversation all the way around, because there are so many people suffering in silence. And the proof is in the stats, and the stats, one, they do lie, because not all suicides are recorded as a suicide, but the stats increase every year. They've been increasing. And so in 2024, the data's just been released. We lost 3,307 Australians to suicide, 307 of them being First Nations. And the highest industry specific is mining and construction, is the trades. So I started this out of my own pain, but through the healing process, I've now turned it into my purpose, because I truly believe is if us as Australians, us as humans, whoever you are, if you have more courage and you have conversations and you choose the choice to change your life, you absolutely can. But somewhere along the way in society, we like to choose the easy route. I don't like to choose the easy route though.
I can imagine there's so much there, and I can imagine, like, just listening to your story, it's like you've been put on this planet obviously to have these conversations, to go big, like go big or go home, and remind people that actually you get to push yourself out of your comfort zone. You get to be bigger and better, but also you're okay when you are just in yourself as well. You don't have to be bigger or better. It's okay to be yourself, but what if? And what kind of springs to mind to me is like, was that Brooke shaped from, so what are the things that shaped Brooke to be that person? What were the things that you've seen, like your upbringing? I'm always so interested in people's story as to what shaped you to be that person, as to why you're so passionate with that. I know that you'd had your challenges and your struggles, but I know a lot of the time making those choices this way or that way, a lot of the time comes from either seeing something or being a part of something where, given the opportunity, you might have made a different choice. So, Brooke, like upbringing, what was it that shaped you? What was your upbringing? I know that you're one of 9 siblings, which is freaking hectic.
One of 9, yes.
One of 9.
Yeah.
Talk me through, I suppose, what you feel when I say what shaped you into the Brooke that you are today when it comes to your upbringing, making those choices. What comes to mind?
First of all, my parents gave me the greatest gift ever, and it was my upbringing. It's not the most ideal upbringing. People would look at it and be like, fuck, you had a traumatic upbringing. I look at it as the greatest gift ever. And my ethos for life now is choose courage over comfort, authenticity over approval, and resilience over giving up. And that encompasses exactly what you just said there, and actually just clicked for me then. It encompasses what my parents taught me. Because my mum is courageous as fuck. The amount of times she's gone up over and over again and just soldiered on is so inspiring. My dad is the hardest working human I've ever seen. He's a businessman. He owns multiple McDonald's, but how much he gives to those stores and how much he gives out to his community around him is so inspiring. But my upbringing, my parents divorced when I was 2. My mum remarried, had another 3 siblings, Hannah, Isabel and Georgia. And then when I was 12 years old, I remember getting a knock at the door. It was a Sunday afternoon. We were all sitting in the lounge room. We lived in Mandurah we lived in Pinjarra at the time, and we were all sitting in the lounge room. I remember getting a knock at the door, after I had literally just looked around the room and thought how grateful I am, how amazing this is to be 6 of us all in the lounge room. I had a few siblings that were out with my mum and my stepdad just watching a movie. It was just such a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Simple. It just felt so secure. It felt happiness. It felt simple. Then that afternoon, we got a knock at the door and it was a woman. My older sister, Courtney, walked out first and she's like, hey, who are you? And we're all like, who's this? It's a Sunday afternoon. We don't know anyone who's coming around. And it was a woman. And she said, I need to speak to your mother. So Courtney come back into the lounge room and pulled mum outside. Me being me, a little bit nosy, I walked out to see what it was all about. And a woman has been courageous enough to knock at our front door, to own her fuck-ups and my stepdad's fuck-ups, to break the news to my mum that my stepdad has just been having an affair for 2 years. Oh. It broke us all, especially how I thought it was a perfect family sitting around her. My stepdad played a huge part in my upbringing. To then have all that ripped away, to then have mum come back inside screaming, get out now, chuck all of his belongings outside, to see that as a child who's 12 years old, I didn't know what was happening, but I just felt like my world got ripped beneath me. And a few weeks later, that divorce was messy. A few weeks later, mum sat us down, sat 6 of us kids down because 2 had moved out, and said to us, I've got 1 or 2 options here. I need to provide for you kids, so I either become a stripper or I go work on the mines. What do you want me to do? She chose to work on the mines. She didn't become a stripper, but she got to work instantly to be able to provide for us kids. But in doing that, it forced us kids to grow up fast. Mm-hmm. So me and my older siblings, we had to raise our younger siblings fast. We had to do the school lunches. We had to get them off to school. We had to do not pickups because it was a bus, but we had to do the nighttime duties, the cooking, the cleaning, your homework's done. We had to run a whole household. When I was 12, my brother was 14, and my sister moved out not too much long after that. We had to raise our 3 younger siblings. And it was through that I learnt a lot. And when I was 17, I moved out of home. I moved up to Karratha to be with my dad. Throughout my teenage years, I would see my dad every two lots of school holidays, so like twice a year probably. And while this was all going on, I felt like a massive pressure on my shoulders to be the adult of the house, to be the responsible one of the house. And that led to me controlling the controllables in my life. So it led to me battling with eating disorders. It led to me having body dysmorphia, not liking the woman that I seen in the mirror or the teenager that I seen in the mirror. Poor choices. I started drinking when I was 14, tried the drugs, tried the alcohol, and I was hooked on all the way up until I was 23. And I was sexually assaulted at 14, and I felt in that moment that's where my confidence was stripped, my voice was stripped, and my courage was stripped.
It's okay. Just keep it going because I won't talk. So just thank you, Ruth. Yeah.
My confidence was stripped, my courage was stripped, and I felt like I was just completely stripped of everything. Mm-hmm. So it led down a path of choosing alcohol to numb out the pain and experimenting with drugs while trying to hold it all together at home. And now my mum worked away. Sometimes it would be 2 weeks on, 1 week off. And when she was home, it was the best thing ever. But when she was home, she would say words like, I can't wait to go back to work. It's my escape. It's so much simpler back on site. It's so hard at home. And for me being 14, 15, hearing that, it kind of reaffirmed to myself that I was a burden. And I held on to that belief for so long. I now realise I definitely am not a burden, but it made me feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And when mum would come home, The memory I have distinctly, every night she was home, would be driving through the bottle shop. Can I have the cheapest bottle of vodka? And she would finish the bottle of vodka and us kids would have to put her to bed. So this rippled on into my 20s. I had a partner of 5 years. We had everything together, the house. We were talking marriage. We were talking kids. And then when I was 23 years old, the greatest gift ever happened. And that was, we were out one night and I remember getting a text we were out one night dancing on the dance floor, having a good old fat time. I remember looking at my phone and I got an Instagram message from this girl. And it was an Instagram message from this woman, who she messaged me and she said, "Hey babe, I've just seen you tag in my brother's Instagram story. I had a look at your profile because I recognized the guy that you were with and I slept with him last weekend." It shattered me. I was red raw, but I was like, you know what? I've got two choices. Choose comfort or choose courage. Fuck knows how I'm going to rebuild. He can have everything, but I ain't staying around for this. And I knew that I should never have been in that relationship because it was toxic. He would abuse me. He would physically push me, punch me, hit me. But I just stayed there because it was comfortable, because I was validated. And in that moment, I was like, see ya. It was the easiest walk of my life because I was brought up with a mum who was courageous to rebuild after everything.
Mm-hmm.
So then I rebuilt and, that's more about my upbringing.
Brooke, I'm enthralled. Like, I don't even actually know where to begin, and I feel like we need about 17 hours to kind of unpack it all of what shaped you.
And that's not even going into like my 20s or anything.
What comes to mind when you're sharing all of those experiences? A lot, like so many things that you've experienced. And I look at you, you know, you're so bright and you're so vibrant and you bring so much light to the world when you haven't necessarily had that experience, that the light has been given back to you. So I love that. And I so appreciate that we get to experience you in the world in it. Something that's been, you know, when you were sharing about the experience that your mum had with your stepdad cheating on her was also a shared experience for you. You know what I mean? You got to see this deceit and losing faith in somebody that you loved and admired and somebody that you had put so much trust in. And so for me and, you know, the experiences that I've had in life, my mind was wandering to see of when that might have happened to you because it felt like it was almost certainly going to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
That I feel like we have that in common because it was like you had to play it out for yourself and make those choices. And I know that so many people would have listened to what you'd shared and know that they've been in that, you know, not the same position, maybe the same position, but something similar, and they make a choice to have courage and step away or not. And so for you, did you know straight away when you'd had that experience with your partner that that's fucking it, I'm out of here?
1,000,000%. Yeah.
And so where did that, like, that came from obviously the experience that you had. What do you credit that to, I suppose?
That definitely comes from ignoring your intuition at the start. The moment I got into that relationship, my intuition spoke. My gut was telling me, run, get out of there. You don't need to be here. The moment he hit me and pushed me up against the wall, that should have been red flags in itself. But I just wanted the dream life. My thought that I kept telling myself was, you want to be married by 24, you want to have 4 kids by your 24, you want to have a house. Because that's how my mum did it, and that's what I seen growing up with my mum and my dad. They got divorced when I was 2. But yeah, I still wanted all that because I thought it could be different this time. So because I wanted all that, I was looking for that. And this guy, we bought a house together. We were on the path to get married, but I kept ignoring all the other red flags. My gut told me to run so many times that in the end, I believe the universe was like, fuck, this chick's sane. She ain't running. I'm going to make her run. I can't turn a blind eye to what happened that night. And that was my number one negotiable, was if you cheat, I'm out. I don't give a shit. If you sleep with another woman, I'm out straight away. There is no ifs or buts. That is beyond crossing the line, and I run. So that was my non-negotiable in life, because I seen my mum did that.
Yeah, 100%.
However, my mum ignored the red flags for 2 years. And it actually completely made sense. When it all come out, it completely made sense as to why my stepdad was away for late, so why he was involved in 2 car accidents, why he would always go on the boys' footy trips. It just made complete sense to us.
Why do you think we do that? Because I 100% resonate with you. It's got you shut down your intuition, but also, like you're saying, you need to ignore your intuition. It's like this push-pull of, like, don't listen to it. You're just making it up. Do you think society has a lot to do with making us feel like we're going crazy?
100%.
Yeah.
Especially as a woman who's now been diagnosed with late ADHD, 100%. Society wants to shut us up. Us as women, we know when something's off. We can read energy. We need to listen more to our gut and not just the words people speak, because actions tell everything. And it's so simple, but a lot more women, they need to drop the red rose-coloured glasses they view the world in and trust themselves more. Trust when you know something's wrong and speak, and have courage to speak up. The more that you do that, you build your self-trust within yourself. And the more that you don't give a shit because you believe yourself and you trust yourself, that you won't ignore the red flags anymore. You will have the courage to speak up.
I love that. And
and by doing so, what really changed the way that I do that is that the moments that I couldn't speak up for myself, I spoke up for others. Because if I'm feeling like this, imagine how many more other people in the room are feeling like this. So if I can't do it for myself, I can dead set do it for another woman sitting next to me to make her feel less alone and to know that everything's going to be all right for her and to speak on my behalf, but also so that she has the courage to then speak.
what is Untapped? What made you start that, and what is it that you do, and what is it that you help people with?
When we go in and help clients around whatever problems they're having, it's typically a performance issue. The performance comes as a result of the system, right? And people interact with the system. So in a lot of respects, it's not a technical solution, it's a human solution that's lacking. And that is the work that we do in Untapped, where everyone is treated as an individual, and what coaching they're going to need depends on their own experiences. The idea at the time with Untapped would be to provide leadership training, coaching. So Untapped for me was about untapping people's potential, investing in people, like the people who join our business, the podcast, the undergrads. If we're able to do that, we should do it. Something that's always stuck with me, and it's one of our values at Untapped. People go where they are wanted, and they stay where they are appreciated. If you can create an environment where people want to be part of that, and then you value them, appreciate them, then you've got a great platform for whatever it is you want to achieve. So that's Untapped in a nutshell.
And on the speaking, it's such a beautiful point, because I think it's part of like the feminine, and also a part of us is you do want to be an advocate and activist, but some of the time you can't advocate for yourself. So being able to do that and be that for other people is like, it's like you do that when you don't feel like you can do it for yourself. And I 100% resonate with that. Speaking about, like sharing and speaking up and using your voice, if you were to truly like ask yourself and sit in, what was harder, staying quiet or speaking up?
Staying quiet, because I almost ended my life because I stayed quiet for 26 years. Speaking up, you're shitting your bricks for 3 seconds before you speak up. Speak up, you're trembling. I'm trembling when I speak up. The first moment I spoke up on site, I was trembling hard out. But it was in that moment that I was like, 3, 2, 1, speak. And then I spoke. I was uncomfortable for 45 seconds. After that, I went to the bathroom. I wanted to vomit. I didn't, but I looked at myself in the mirror and said, fuck yeah, you go, girl. That outweighs living a life full of lies, outweighs living a life being silenced. And to spend 26 years in the silence bubble, now, after 4 years, I'm like, no one's going to fucking silence me again. No.
You can't put baby in the corner.
You can't put baby in the corner. My partner says that to me when I challenge him.
Really?
He's like, and I'm like, babe, you can't put baby in a corner.
100%, like amen to that. And this is, you know, like definitely resonating with you in speaking up and sharing and advocating for making change is that, you know, I think there's more people around than you think when you're going through those challenges. And when you feel like the only person who's speaking up, the only person who's going through what you're going through, I think you speak about so well that, you know, you're not alone in those experiences. And, you know, maybe somebody hasn't run around Australia or run from the Pilbara to Perth, but actually there's so many people who in their own way are making, you know, advocating, having conversations, small conversations in workplaces. Maybe they're within their family. Maybe it's you who's leaving a relationship where there's red flags and you're not waiting for the multiple red flags. I think, is there anything that you have to say to those people who are making those, you know, it can feel overwhelming when you watch people do these big things. But I know we've had the conversation before that of all the people that you've met who are doing these seemingly small things that have impacted you
100%.
and that have helped you on your journey. Can you speak into that and some of the stories or some of the people that have helped you on your journey that's big?
Yeah.
And the seemingly small things that have helped you?
I always come back to the question of how do I want to be remembered? Is it the small, quiet girl who doesn't say anything, the good girl that we're so conditioned to be? Now? No fucking way. It is the kind-hearted woman who shows up, who will stand up and who will speak up. And anyone at any moment in time can absolutely do that. We need more kind-hearted humans in the world. And if you can't do it for yourself, do it for those who need you. The moment that I took myself out of the equation was the moment that I was able to show up more and more. Because when it's about me, I'm like, no, I don't like that. It's very shallow. It's very more selfish. It's about us. It's about us coming together, helping one another. So for those like listening at home, how you can do that is have courage to stand up and to speak. Have courage to be more kind, because your small one act of kindness has the power to ripple out. And it sounds so cliche, has the power to ripple out. But here I am running all the way around Australia, taking just one more step every single day. There was a pea plater. Wait. We were in that outback Queensland. There was a pea plater. This was 40 degree day. There was a pea plater who slowed right down, could see me suffering, sweltering in the heat, and was probably thinking, what's she doing? No. He'd been following on. He slowed right down. He passed me a cold water bottle out the window, didn't say anything, and just kept going. It was the best moment ever, because one, I needed that water in that moment and I was so grateful for it. He was probably about 18 to 20 years old, I reckon. But as he drove off, he yelled out, just one more. And that was confirmation to me that he's watching on. That small act that he just did lit the fire in my belly one more time to get on with it for the next day, to show up again for the next day. The moment I had a conversation, I was, this was in South Australia, and we were parked up for the night. In the morning, Rowan got out, my support crew at the time, and he started chatting to all these males around. And there was about 5 of them. They was telling, like, why are you travelling around Australia? What are you doing? Then he started sharing about what we're doing, running around Australia to raise awareness of mental health and suicide prevention. 4 out of the 5 guys acknowledged it, wanted to celebrate it, wanted to open up and talk about it. And then I walked out and I introduced myself to the guys and just had a conversation with them for about 10 minutes. But 1 out of the 5 guys, he stayed completely silent. Whenever we spoke about the run, he wanted to defer and go elsewhere. And I was like, interesting. No worries. See you later, guys. I've got to get out and run now. I get out and run. An hour later, that same guy who didn't want a bar of it at the campsite, he came out, he slowed right down, pulled over and said, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. I'm battling with depression right now. I lost my wife 2 years ago to cancer. Now I'm traveling around Australia to carry on her dream. And hey, I'm just a woman out here running, having conversations. But that guy, he powered me on for another 2 weeks. He didn't have to slow down. So it's saying the things that you want to say, because the person you say it to may need to hear it exactly in that moment. And it doesn't have to be the big, grand, audacious things. You don't have to go run around Australia. It could literally be looking at the checkout chick when you're walking through the register and saying, how's your day going? How are you really? And not just, like, actually being more intentional, not just brushing over things.
And it's so impactful with the conversations that you're lucky enough to have, with that luck that you've created, going around Australia and putting yourself in those positions. I definitely resonate. I know that other people do. You never know what impact you're making with people.
No.
You never know what somebody's going through. A lot of the time, or some of the time, the people who are struggling the most are the ones who will convince you that actually everything's fine.
And let me just say, you never know what people are going through. So be kind, don't judge, but also don't put up with bullshit behaviour, because the standard you set is the standard you walk past. If someone is treating you incorrectly, stand up for yourself. Be courageous enough to speak up and call out bullshit behaviour. Because if you don't, that then ripples on to everyone else. That person thinks it's okay and will carry that on. The moment you stand up and say, hey, don't talk to me like that, it puts that person back in their place, shakes them a little bit, and shows that you won't tolerate that. Because it's, yes, be kind, be non-judgmental, but don't be a pushover. And that's what I've had to learn in my life, is to speak up and call out the bullshit behaviour, because if I don't, who will?
And how do you practice that? Like, in the moment when it feels uncomfortable, when it feels like the wrong thing to do and that you don't want to be too much, you don't want to be, it's not my business, it's not this, it's not that, all those things that go on in your mind. What's something that you've put in place?
If you see it, it is your business.
Yeah, say that again.
If you see it, it is your business, 100%. It's absolutely your business. You see it with your own eyes, it is 100% your business. It's a bit different on socials, because you don't want to be looking to call out people all the time and stuff. So say if you're in a workplace right now and you see ill behaviour, you see someone making inappropriate comments about someone, don't sit there. Don't smug. Don't laugh about it. Call it out. Hey, that's pretty shit behaviour. That's pretty shit language. You don't have to use the shit word, but just call it out. Call a spade, because it puts that person back in the corner. It shows them you're not going to tolerate it and it's inappropriate. The moment that we can start doing more of that is the moment that we get to change the workspace and create the safe spaces in the workspace, because you're not only calling it out, you're raising the standard. And if you sit there and you smug about it and you laugh, that's still participation. I believe that's still participation, because that person is still going to keep doing it. That's not how we change the company culture, and that's not how we make changes and create safe spaces in the workplace. We need to raise the standard. And if you won't, well, you're actually setting the standard.
100%. And it's like you flex a muscle. I find with truth and speaking up and all that, once you start doing it, it just becomes the normal. So not speaking up becomes more weird than actually speaking up.
100%. And people won't try it on with you, because they know that you'll speak up.
Yeah.
They know that you'll call a spade a spade.
You know what I experience as well is like the awkwardness when people know that you're going to speak up, when they just want to have a little bit of leeway. Let's just be inappropriate here. How do you navigate that, or are you just not around those people anymore?
I'm not around those people anymore. And if they want to have those conversations, go have them elsewhere, not around me.
Yeah.
And I am my partner doesn't like this, but I'm very like, I can't be in a room if I don't vibe you. I'll sit in the room for 30 minutes. I'll give you 30 minutes and then I'm out.
Yeah, 100%. Do you know what I saw recently, speaking about social anxiety? So somebody was saying, social anxiety isn't a thing. Social anxiety is, I'm just bored with your conversation. It makes me anxious having to entertain you.
Yeah.
And so it's like reframing, I'm not anxious about this interaction. I'm bored with it. You're not my people. And so that for me has been a gauge of like, if I'm anxious in this kind of situation, or if I'm not vibing, like you say, the situation with the people, it's not your room. You know, that's not the room that you're supposed to be in.
And I can't fake that.
No.
My facial expression says it all.
Yeah.
And Matt's like, can you just try it on for an hour? I'm like, an hour, you're stretching it.
Yeah, 100%. You're like, I can't do it. And so, you know, with the experiences that you've been able to have, I know that you've had so many, pivotal moments with people, and I know that you have changed people's lives that you may never hear from. You may never hear it. Take us back to, you know, you're pushing through, you're doing these hundreds of thousands of kilometres. You've got to have tough days, right? I know that you've had so many tough days. Take us back, if you remember, to one of the toughest days, through many. What got you through? What was happening in that moment? Why was it a tough day? And then what did you do to change it?
So I think this is a perfect time to tell you the biggest lie that I was carrying for the first 3 months of the run. And it was the heaviest 3 months of the run. To run for 3 months is something in itself. But to carry the pain of the nation and hear all the stories and get up every day and go again, I carried a story every step I took. That's what helped get me through, is having conversations on the side, on the highway. Shit, this guy needs me to get up again. I'm going to keep going. The first 3 weeks was so hard, missing my family. And because I was still, Western Australia is a big state. It took me about 5 weeks to get out of Western Australia. So by the time me getting out of Western Australia come, on that day, I was like, fuck it, I'm running 100 kilometres. And I did. And I kind of pre-planned it. So I ran like 95 kilometres, then 87 kilometres, and then 100 kilometres, just a beeline for that South Australia crossing, because I just was over Western Australia. I was like, just get me out of here. But it was so challenging every time saying goodbye to my family. Mm-hmm. They would come out and see me, and knowing that I had to say goodbye to my partner, my stepchildren. Yes, I was going to see them again, but this was my life for the next 7 months, 204 days. It was heavy. That was so challenging and so hard. But every time I did that, I knew that I had to give myself 1 or 2 days grace. I was going to be an emotional mess, and I was. I would be running along, bawling my eyes out, and then I'd have to walk because I just couldn't get my breath back because I was so upset. That did get easier and easier as I got into New South Wales, probably, halfway around the country. But what didn't get easier was carrying the lie that I was okay. And I was out there running around Australia to raise awareness of mental health. But I had to keep quiet about someone and something so close to my heart. So whenever people asked me, are you okay? I had to say yes. Because what happened in October 2024 was that my number one mentor and friend, Kerwin Ray, he died by suicide. So each day was a struggle to get up because I was still living a lie. And when you're living a lie, it is so hard to keep going on. So I got up and I would run every day, but then I'll just look up and I'll be like, what is this about? How can I keep going when I can't even be truthful to myself? Holiday makers would stop, truck drivers would stop. Are you okay? No, I'm not. Because I'm out here doing something huge for mental health to make noise, but I can't even tell the truth right now. Mm-hmm. Because why? And I realized that, again, as society, we try to shut the truth up with cute words. Sudden death, unknown cause, health concerns. And I was doing this massive thing to have these conversations, to put my mind, body and soul on the line all the way around Australia, yet I couldn't say the truth. My mentor died by suicide. And the moment when I was in South Australia and the truth came out, I knew what had happened. I knew what had happened the moment that it happened. But the day that it came out by his family on our public forum inside our tight-knit community was the moment that I finally felt a sense of grief and release and sadness, but also just a massive weight was lifted off my shoulder, because in that moment I realized the hundreds of thousands of other people affected by his death could now finally grieve properly because they finally got closure of how it happened, of what had happened. And it wasn't another heart attack. It was the fact that he couldn't hold on anymore. Mental health took his life. So when that finally came out, when Kirsty finally shared that wholeheartedly, I was so proud of her. I respect her immensely. I understand why she kept it in, to protect the family and their privacy. But on the flip side of that, if we keep turning a blind eye to the reality, the harsh reality, no one can heal. You can't heal when you're living in a lie. So when that finally came out, I just felt a massive sense of gratitude. Now the world, all of his community get to understand and get to heal properly. Now I can continue living my purpose, living through his legacy as well, because he taught me so much that I know right now. I get to live that through and carry that legacy forward because the truth's now out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most challenging thing to do, especially in the first 3 months. And then I felt a massive sign of relief.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I felt like I could have the bigger impact.
That's so big, especially like you're saying, to be doing something for mental health, to be putting yourself on the line, your body every single day for suicide prevention, to be carrying what you'd learned from your mentor and be doing it because of, not just because of him, but because I can imagine.
He saved my life.
Was he the one who said to you, big, hairy, audacious goals?
Yeah. It was in his community. That is what saved my life. Me choosing to be in his community saved my life. The people in that community, I remember Brenton, this one day, he comes up to me and he's like, I was about to walk out. I was about to exit the whole community. He came up to me. I was about to exit because I had my old friends in my ear saying, you don't need to be there. You need to come back with us. No, I don't need to come back with you doing the drugs and alcohol. I need to be here. Brenton come up to me and he looks at me in the eyes and he's like, I don't know what it is you're battling with right now. I don't know what it is you're going through, but you've got this. You've got so much power. You're beautiful. You're brave. You're enough. You're loved. You're worthy. And you need to be here. And when he said that, I just burst into tears. And after my car accident, I leant so much on that community and they pulled me through. They had the conversations with me. They helped guide me. Kerwin helped guide me. He helped guide me back to myself and back to my purpose, back to my mission. So I wouldn't be here without that community. They helped me set that big, hairy, audacious goal initially to run 1,600 kilometres. I did that. What I didn't know was that every step I took out there that day, those days running 1,600 kilometres around down the Western Australia coastline, was that Kerwin was watching on. He was watching on in his darkest of moments. I finished that run in September. I went into the community again in Sydney in October. And Kerwin pulled me up on stage and he shared with me that I helped pull him out of his really dark times by watching my bottleneck level of resilience, just running and running and running. There's a woman out there who's doing good in the world for mental health and making noise by running every single day and having conversations. The year after, that same month, to get a message from a friend saying she's just seen it on social media, sudden death, what happened? I was out in the middle of a run when I got that. And I just dropped and I bursted into tears. And I was like, fuck, he didn't see the light. He couldn't hold on anymore. And there's a beautiful interview, his last interview that I watch. And we watch it regularly because it's a bit of a closure for us as well, where he opens up wholeheartedly about his mental health struggles. And he just couldn't hold on anymore and mental health took him. So then for me to be running around Australia for mental health, not being able to share that side of the story, fucking killed me because he's the one who saved my life. And this is why I get to do what I get to do now. So to have to lie about that, yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. That's powerful. It's and when we speak about you being somebody who speaks up and it's like you feel gagged.
Mm-hmm. And I felt gagged because I also have massive respect for the family. I don't want to overstep when they're still grieving at all. But this is why mental health is so stigmatized.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear so many people preaching on about destigmatize it, yet they still cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
They won't call a spade a spade. If someone dies by cancer, we say that. If someone dies by suicide, we say health concern, sudden death.
We can't
unsure.
talk about it.
We can't talk about it. If you actually want to destigmatize it, call it for what it is. They died by mental health. They died by suicide. And that is when we actually take the blame out of it. It's not committed suicide because that is acting like they committed a crime. Mm-hmm. It's not a crime. It's an actual fucking heartbreak tragedy, but it's not a crime. So to remove the stigma, to remove the criminal act around from it, we say died by suicide.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth, and you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
And it makes us then not associate their final moments with the act.
Mm-hmm.
Because the act is not who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They are not a criminal. They're a person who couldn't see the light.
It's that cry for help. And so when you're having those conversations now, do you want water or tissue?
Can I have my phone? You just said cry for help. Can I have my phone in my bag?
Do you get messages?
No. Oh, sorry. On that side. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. I'm not reading a message. I'm going to read you something. When I find it.
What came up then? What's made you go here?
Oh, because I need to share this part, but I need to read it. Okay. So you just said cry for help. This was my cry for help. And I found this journal entry, and this is a journal entry from when I was 26 years old. And this was my cry for help. I'm scared to plan the future. Why, I must ask myself. I'm scared because I don't know if I want this life. I don't know if I'm worthy of this whole life. I don't know if I'm capable of this life. I feel like such a burden, and I don't know how I'm going to continue living on. I know I could do it if I held on, but I'm terrified of the commitment piece. I'm terrified of the unknown. I'm terrified if I'll even make it out another day. I have thoughts come in and out. Maybe life will be easier if I just end it. Hit a tree and leave this world for good. Then what? What was the point in building this all? What was the point in being here? I know it's silly to say, but it's what goes through my head daily. And it's what goes through my head whenever I drive. I don't want it anymore. It's exhausting, it's draining, it's tiring. I keep second-guessing myself, self-sabotaging, reaching for the alcohol or the drugs to numb it out. I'm seeking help, I guess, because if I'm meant to be here, I will be. I get to create the life that I want, but this is my battle cry. I literally wrote that when I was 26. And when I found that the other day, reading it back to myself, like that is why I do what I do.
Mm.
For those in that stage to realize if you take just one more step, just one more breath, just one more day, you can overcome and achieve anything. And just one more conversation changed my life. And now I guess it gets to impact the nation.
Mm. There's someone who's writing that journal entry and someone who's writing that journal entry who's able to hear what you're sharing. I'm so glad that you chose to stay somehow, or something bigger forced you to stay, and that Kerwin came into your life and that all the people and the things that happened in your life because, like, wow.
I'm so grateful for everything I've been through.
Yeah.
And I'm almost 30. I've lived a big fucking life. But now, with me having lived a big life so young, I now get to impact and live a big, courageous, further life and get to impact so many different lives through it. But it starts by the truth.
100%. What's your advice for somebody who's writing that journal entry or having those thoughts or thinking that the world isn't a better place with them here?
It absolutely is. And I know that they don't want to hear that, but it absolutely is. And I would suggest you looking in the mirror and asking yourself, what don't you like about your life? And then take one step daily to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't change the outside world, but you can change yourself. And if you don't currently like your current reality, no one's going to want to hear this, but that's your responsibility to change it, because no one is coming to save you. It's no one's responsibility to change it. It's your own.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are at that stage, truth. The answers are in the truth, and the truth is what you're avoiding.
Mm-hmm.
So write paper. What don't you like about? Is it your finances? Is it your relationship? Is it your alcohol? Is it the drugs? What is it? And then start there and build from there.
Mm-hmm.
Finances. Do I need to implement more budgets in my life? Do I need to cut back on the spending? Alcohol. Well, why do I drink daily? What am I trying to numb out? Is it the emotions I don't want to feel? Well, feel them, because if you don't feel them, you're never going to heal from them. And emotions is energy in our body. And if we never release them, they're going to stay stuck. They're going to come out in diseases.
Mm-hmm.
Scientific studies all out there around that stuff.
Yeah, amen. I totally believe that. I can imagine in your experiences as well, you've had a huge kick in the butt. You've had some tough love from people.
Oh, fuck yeah. It was the tough love that is the best love.
What's the tough love that you've had before? What's it, if somebody isn't in, like they're not like, I'm going to journal it out, because some people are like, I'm not fucking journaling it out. What is the tough love that you needed when you were struggling in those moments?
If you're not going to do anything about it, then just stop complaining. If you're not going to take radical responsibility for your life, I don't want to hear about it. And it is literally that everything you want is there, but you've got to be courageous enough to go and get it. And the biggest tough love that I've had most recently is when I crossed the finish line after running around a fucking Australia, putting my mind, body and soul on it, on my own two legs. I crossed the finish line. I hugged my dad. This is why I love him so much. I hugged my dad. He didn't say, I'm proud of you, baby. He said, this isn't about you. Get up on stage. This is about everyone else. Be humble, because you're doing it for the world. Shit, yeah. He put me back in my place. Great, I did it. But also I get to be a voice. And sometimes you need someone to put you back in your place.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, what did I want? I wanted him to tell me I was proud. But that was him telling me he's proud. And I fucking loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the harsh truth that gives you the biggest wake-up call to just go. And if you can't handle the hard truth, well, please don't enter my world.
This is the thing. And so crossing that finish line, take us back. I know you talked about the toughest points of that run, and you've talked about the people that made a change and were able to get you over the line, and all the conversations that you were able to have. Talk us like the most elated feelings and the biggest parts of joy and the things that you're like, shit, this is better than the drugs and alcohol that I was taking. This is better than anything. Take us back to those moments. Was it crossing the line? Was it doing, what parts were those kind of feelings of joy?
Just honestly, running around Australia is so easy. I would do it again in a heartbeat. It's so much easier than being in an adulthood and being a stepmom and being a partner and doing all the home life. I just being in nature every single day, waking up and just the endorphin pumps of the running.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you this really big rush. And that's why I love two things, running and speaking. But it just gave me a rush every single day. And when those conversations came in, that would just give me a kick.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember on the finish line, on that finish day, I just remember looking around and I was like, how cool is this? There are so many people here. They're not here to celebrate the whole feat. they're here for one common thing, and that is because they want to stand with me for our mental health. And looking out at all the people out there and who ran with me, we had probably about 100 people run across the finish line with me. Seeing all of that collectively come together, that just lit the fire in my belly. And now I'll get messages on Instagram, and it's from this morning, a family who's travelling around Australia, and their kids seen the blue X that I painted on the side of the road. And then it sparks the conversations. Whenever I get a message like that, I'm like, actually, we are doing it. It is one person at a time, but we are still doing it. Yeah.
And you're a bonus mum. You've spoken about stepmom, bonus mum, and so no doubt the kids that you've been blessed to come into their life, and you've been blessed enough to come into yours. Do you feel any pressure? Is there any part of it that sits in your heart for your partner and the bonus kids that you get? Like, what are your lessons that you've learned from having that experience? Because it is so unique. Having kids is unique, and being a bonus mum, I can imagine, is like one
They
next
put you back
level.
in the place.
They what?
They put you back straight in the place. Like, I finished the run. It's so funny. I finished the run on a Sunday, and I got home that night. It was so surreal driving home that night. But I got home that night, woke up in my own bed Monday morning. And I remember Monday we just had a chill day. Oh, no, Monday was definitely not a chill day. It was like all PR and media and stuff. Tuesday was a chill day at home. When I say chill, we unpacked the whole caravan and everything and was just sorting out stuff, tidying up, cleaning up. And it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And in my head, I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit down in a minute. But then I went into the kitchen and I pulled out something from the freezer and put it on the table because I was going to cook that later for dinner. Just needed to defrost in time. As I pulled it out and put it on the table and walked back out of the kitchen, Indy, my stepdaughter, comes out and she goes, oh, Brooke, by the way, I got cheerleading tonight and I need to eat by 5:30. I was like, okay, I'll get back into the kitchen. No worries. I haven't just ran around Australia. I want to sit down because I've been working all day, but I'll get back into the kitchen. These kids don't give a fuck what's just happened. And that's when I just smacked back into my place. Off you go. They've been the greatest. They've been the biggest, but also the greatest challenge that I've had. They've taught me so many lessons. And there's definitely, like, I never want to dim their personality. They've both got the most beautiful, radiant personality, especially Indy. She's so loud, out there and bubbly. Ollie, he's the kindest, heartest gentleman. Yes, he's almost hitting his teens and he's a little bit rebellious almost right now. We're going through that era and I'm like, oh shit, strap yourself in.
Yeah.
But they've been the greatest gift to teach me so much more about myself, and they've definitely taught me more empathy and compassion and to speak up more too. So when someone tries to silence Indy, no way. You don't silence my daughters. You don't silence people around me. No. So it's definitely forced me to step up more.
Yeah. And I feel like that's parenthood in a nutshell, where you've just come back from this 1,000-kilometre run, thousands of kilometre run. They want food. Get back into it. I don't give a shit. That is parenting in a nutshell from what I hear. I love the insight that you get to give us. I can imagine that shapes as well, where you're going and what you want to do now. I can imagine that you said running around Australia is easy. I can imagine the big, hairy, audacious goals that you've got planned now are massive. I know that you've got so many people on board. You've inspired so many people. I was thinking about you when I was running. I was training for boxing, and every night I was exhausted, but I was like, this is going to help me in the ring. And I was like, Brooke just ran around Australia. Get your ass out. I'd put the Vaseline on, which I saw that you shared one time. Didn't worry about the chafe, and I was inspired by you. And if I'm one person, I know that's, the ripple effect that you've been able to cause. Where to now? What's happening now? You're allowed to rest, like have that rest and that chill.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear, how hard it has been to be still, but what is it now? Where to now? Like, what's bigger than running around Australia?
I definitely feel like I don't need to run anywhere else. And one thing I realised when I was running around Australia was that I was actually, part of me was running away from my own safetyness and stillness. So now I'm in a space of my life where I can't run anymore. Like, my body's done. And I tried to go for a 7K run and I cramped for the first 200 meters. And then my bones were cooked for the week after. They were like, no, girl, you're not. So I'm Pilates girl right now, and slow walks, it's definitely been a test. It's been recalibrating, and it's something that I'm not used to in my life at all, is the stillness, but I'm loving it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm loving finding more stillness, and I definitely don't feel like I need to go run around another country or anything. Parts of me kind of want to, but I want to bring people along more for the ride, because how therapeutic running and talking has been for me, I want others to now experience that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I run another country one day, I'm going to be bringing people in to run with me too. So for me personally, like right now, it looks like more walk clubs. I'm starting my own walk club in Perth, just to keep the movement, keep the conversations going. Just one more, we planted it in schools all the way around Australia. Next year, we look like going more and more into schools with the Just One More message. And same into workplaces as well, doing a lot more speaking, launching my own podcast soon, which is very exciting.
And what is that called?
Just One More, the podcast.
Beautiful.
How original. Mm-hmm. Everything's just one more. So yeah, it looks like more impact, more community. I'm definitely in a community phase right now, and I love it. Like, community saved me. So imagine what this community can do for others, and it already has done for others.
100%.
Yeah.
If you were given one more week to live, what would be the thing that you would make sure that you do in that week, or the several things that you would do? It's a big question.
I would grab 10 people, take them to Tasmania with me, and would run around Tasmania, and I would coach them and mentor them while they're running. Yeah, because something therapeutic happens in running. You get to this wall and your mind, your body tells you, I can't go on anymore. But that's your ego just keeping you safe. And if you park your ego to the side, you find there's maybe trauma there. There's underlying challenge for you to work through. And if you're courageous enough to push through that, then you go through a mental breakthrough. You have like a mental breakdown almost, and then you go through a mental breakthrough. And it's through the mental breakthrough that you realize you're invisible. So the more courageous and you can be to break through that, you see how invincible you really are, and you can be. Mm-hmm. So that's what I want more and more people to experience. So if I had a week left, I would grab 10 people. I would take them over to Tasmania. I'd train them up. I'd say, run, 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 run. You're running with me. And whenever you get to that breaking point, you tell me, you talk to me, and I'm going to talk you through it. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get through it together. Because then they realize that, like, their mind just plays games with them all the time. And that's all your mind does. So play them back.
Yeah.
Break it down.
Do the dance.
Do the dance. And the more that you can harness your mind, it's your mental fitness. The more that you practice mental fitness and harness your mind, you literally can overcome and achieve anything.
Mm-hmm. And so how can people get into your world and be a part of those messages and be a part of the things that you've got coming up?
Definitely follow on social media, which is Brooke McIntosh _. If you Google Brooke McIntosh, if you Google woman running around Australia, you can find so many different articles about us. Follow along there, and then also on the website brookemcintosh.com.au.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you would like to leave on that, you know, you feel like people need to hear, or is there anything that you feel like you would like to leave on?
It's that truth heals all. So be courageous enough to seek truth, and then you can start to heal. Yeah, because it's through the healing then life becomes incredible.
That was Brooke McIntosh. What an honour it is to have Brooke McIntosh on the podcast. We were just having a laugh about trying to put a whole life in such a short amount of time. There's so many nuggets, there's so many takeaways. I know that so many lives have been saved, are going to be saved from the message that Brooke is sharing and the things that she's been able to do. One of the things that really stuck out to me is, you know, just one more. Those conversations that you're able to have, every single person can have a conversation. And so if you're listening to this and something hits and you know it's going to help somebody in your life, please share, please reach out. thank you so much for joining us for the podcast. What an honour it is to have Brooke in at the resource to spread the message and spread the ripple effect. Thank you.